Okay, this is just a quick video about Panasonic GH6 RAW compatibility with Affinity Photo. So I've been a bit frustrated with Affinity Photo recently with their kind of lack of updates, and specifically for the Panasonic GH6 that they haven't released RAW support for it. And in light of this, I kind of understand why there's been no updates for the V1 suite. It's the version 2 suite is sort of here now, and V1, eventually will be sunsetted and there'll be no updates for it. So I can kind of understand, where the delays have come from now. If you've never heard of the Affinity suite, it's essentially made up of 3 applications. So you've got Designer, Photo, and Publisher. And they're both available for Mac and PC, and they're essentially rivals to Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign. And each one of them can be bought individually or as a package, and that's as a one-time purchase, so no subscriptions required, which I think is great, because I really don't like the whole kind of subscription culture of every piece of software has to be a subscription. You can get the entire V2 suite for $89.99, or you can purchase each one for $35.99. They're on a slight reduction at the moment. They usually cost around £59 for each application, which is still cheap, but they do offers throughout the year, so it's always worth waiting for when they go down. They won't get cheaper, I don't think, than they are now, so if you're considering buying it, now is probably the time to do it. They also have, I don't actually use them because I don't have an iPad, but they have versions for iPhone and iPad as well. So there is additional support there as well for each one. So you get Designer, Photo, and Publisher all for iPad as well if you get yourself the whole bundle. Personally, I bought all 3 of them with my own money for V1. Like, this isn't sponsored or anything. I've got no affiliation with them. It's just software that I use and I like. So, when with the original one, I bought it, and I just think it's a really great set of tools, and I'll certainly be buying the V2 suite soon. I'm currently just using the trial of it, but I'll definitely be buying the whole suite. I'll just get the whole thing, even though I don't have an iPad. It's still cheaper to buy the 3 through the bundle, so I'm going to do that. You could kind of argue that you're buying the software outright, and then they're releasing a V2 and potentially down the line a V3, so there's a bit of a contradiction there. But the original app or the original suite of apps has been around for years, and it's received lots of updates, and by comparison, V2 is a really nice upgrade with an improved user interface and a much bigger feature set. So, to put it into perspective, you're essentially paying 1 month of a Creative Cloud subscription to own the software outright. And they're not as polished and complete as some of the Adobe apps. There's no, I wouldn't say they're like for like, but for the price, they're really, really powerful applications with lots and lots of good features. I've been using Photoshop since version 5, and that's not CS5, that's version 5, so that's at this point now nearly 25 years ago. And over that time, I've contributed to magazines like Photoshop Creative and Advanced Photoshop. And I even more recently wrote an article about, is Creative Cloud worth it for freelancers? And I'll leave a link in the video above if you want to check that out. So that kind of brings us to the drawbacks of it. And one of the drawbacks of Affinity Photo really is that it uses the LibRAW library for its RAW processing. So in this instance, with the GH6 RAW format being different to the previous versions, it's taken some time for compatibility to become available. And, originally with V1, I don't know if this will be the case with V2, but the software is only really updated every few months. Whereas by comparison, Adobe, they're doing releases almost every week at some points, and you've got Creative Cloud to kind of manage all of that, and they'd managed to bring RAW support to Lightroom by mid-April, and considering the Panasonic GH6 came to the market at the end of February, that's pretty rapid. So Adobe have done really well there, jumping on support for that. But by comparison, Affinity, they still don't have RAW support, even in this version 2. So if we jump into, this is the version 2 trial. If I jump in, I try and open a Panasonic RAW file, you can see there's still no support there, which is really disappointing, to be honest. I mean, when they've had over 6 months to add compatibility for the GH6 RAW files. But I mean, nevertheless, I'd still highly recommend you check out the kind of suite, because it is a fantastic set of tools and it's worth every penny, in my opinion. But it's, for me, really, it's just fingers crossed that GH6 RAW support's on the horizon, and I'll do a post or a video when it finally does get support. So, you know, if you haven't checked out the Affinity suite and you're looking for a kind of comparative, or comparative apps to Photoshop or Illustrator or InDesign, then make sure to check them out, because they're really good, and they're a really good price at the moment, so they're worth having a look at. So if you found this video helpful, then please give it a like, or if you want to see more content like this, then please subscribe to the channel.